Just about 18 minutes after the hour of 7 o'clock, welcome back to the Now Morning Show. Now, we are in the Easter season, and with school closed, parents will be searching for fun activities for their children. But even amidst the fun, we must ensure we keep our children safe, especially around pools, beaches, and other bodies of water. And so joining us to provide some tips on how we can keep the younger ones safe is Water Safety Officer or Water Safety Education Officer at the Ministry of National Security and Lifeguard Services, Mr. Alistair Livingston.
Good morning.
That is a mouthful, Mr. Livingston. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you this morning?
Very well. It's a
Nice.
pleasure.
No stranger to the show, but I think it's very important that we bring you back again, particularly because, as you mentioned, we are in the Easter season. People love to flock to the beaches, and so let's see how we can begin. I mean, any tips, first of all, in terms of how to keep them safe? Well, first of all, different tips for different bodies of water. So there's going to be different tips for beaches, different tips for rivers, etc.
Yes. We're going to touch on the beaches, seeing that as the most populated
Yes.
areas. Seeing that we are in the hype of the Easter holidays, when parents take the kids to the beach, it is advisable try to go on beaches first and foremost that is protected by lifeguards, and go within the hours that the lifeguards going to be on duty.
Mr. Livingston, can you tell us off the bat which beaches they are? Like I know Maracas is one.
Maracas, Las Cuevas, Tarico, but presently Tarico is not functional. So we have that in the north. We have Manzanilla, Mearo, Celebia, and Celine's Bay in Toco. In the south, we have Vesini, Lucera, and Quinal. So those are the beaches that are covered by Ministry of National Security Lifeguard Services. Hours of patrol are 10 a.m. to 5:30 p.m.
So in terms of the tips for beaches, ensure that it's protected by lifeguards. What else can you suggest?
When you go to the beaches, first and foremost, if you don't understand the meaning of the red flags are there to identify those dangerous areas. You're not allowed to swim in front of these red flags, because directly in front or close to these red flags are where the rip currents, rocks, or any form of danger.
Yeah.
So bathers, please observe these red flags. Speak to the lifeguards so they can guide you accordingly. Also, for non-swimmers, weak swimmers, for the adults, no deeper than waist depth. For the kids, no deeper than knee depth. We advise that when parents go to the beach, you keep those children very close to you, no further than an arm's reach away. Why? If you go into the water and you have them approximately 5 feet away, a wave could come on,
Yes.
the backwash could take them out. If you're indulging in flotation devices, these flotation are only to be used by strong swimmers only.
Yeah.
Okay, observe the water conditions. Also on the beach, we are asked very, very carefully that parents keep their eyes on the kids, because we do experience lost kids on the beach as well. For the adults, you know, we like to play ball games. It's a big, big thing. A ball is a very, very dangerous device. When you play in water, it could go out, somebody may try to retrieve it, or it could be pulled out by the current or a wave. You try to get it, and you can end up in difficulty.
Yeah. What about the public advisories as well? Because I know sometimes they will also tell us when it's expected high current, low current, that sort of thing.
Well, we ask that people, you know, pay special attention to the weather when going to the beaches. If you're not very clear, speak to the lifeguards. Sometimes you may come and you see the water a bit turbulent. Take a little time, look at the conditions, observe those water conditions before entering. Sometimes you may go on beaches that don't have lifeguards. We ask that you observe the water conditions before entering. Observe where the rip current. So how could you identify a rip current? You're going to see that brownish line of water coming up, bubbles, ripples, a lot of debris going out in a line. If you're stepping in the water, you're going to feel the potholes, the sudden drop.
Yes.
Move away from these areas. Do not enter into water that is unknown, where the water is rough, a lot of rocks. You do not go in these areas to swim.
Now, if for some reason you get caught in that rip current, is there anything that you can do?
Yes. First and foremost, you remember that water is going to pull you out. Sometimes you may walk from a level into a drop. If you can keep your footings, because sometimes that water, the force, it pulls you,
Yes.
and it actually is like a vacuum that pulls the sand from under your feet. So you lose your footings sometimes. If you can, walk to the sides. Walk. If you step in
So
from the
don't
right,
walk out or don't walk back. Walk to the
don't
side.
walk against the current, or don't try to swim. Go to the
Yes.
sides.
Right.
All right. So if you can step to the side, you end back up on a bank. Or if you can swim, float, try to stay calm and go swim to the sides.
Yeah, can we also speak to the jet skis as well, Mr. Livingston? Because many times I'm at the beach, I'm enjoying everything, and then a jet ski passes really, really close to where I'm swimming.
Well, for jet ski operators and boat operators, for Maracas Beach, we have markers placed where boats or any type of power-driven craft not allowed to come beyond or inside of that area. We do ask that you exercise that caution or that safety measure operating your craft beyond those yellow markers. You're going to see them on the beach. They're cones placed, and at night they give off a beacon yellow light, a strobe light. We ask that you observe those markers and stay beyond. Swimmers are not allowed to go beyond because that is the area designated for the power-driven craft.
What about the adventurous swimmers are among us, the ones who like to go on deep sea dive?
Deep sea dive, well, please try to stay in areas that is not populated by a lot of boat activity or jet ski operation. Also, where there's a lot of rocks or currents, make sure that you don't go in these areas. Also, when you're using those areas to dive, make sure that you have proper visible markers, dive flags, visible yellow markers, that you can be identified by a boat or any power-driven craft that is going to be approaching that area, passing in that area.
Let's talk about rivers now, right? We in Trinidad and Tobago, we love a river line.
Right, river line is a big thing.
Keep, children safe.
Rivers has a lot of dangers. First and foremost, you may go to a river and, you know, if you look at the water, it's very clean sometimes, and people misjudge the depth because of the clarity. We ask that you observe, because rivers have a lot of uneven surface. You may be walking knee depth and 3 steps away, chest. Also maintain that level of where you observe what you call the current or the flow. You may not see it and you may be crossing and you end up in a deeper area, and that water could push you under a ledge. Actually, I was told yesterday by someone who was pushed under a ledge, and because that person could swim, they actually had to push their way out. So you have to pay special attention to that. Also, when you go to the river gives you warning. We have what you call flash flooding. Observe more weather conditions. You may be wading down river and you may suddenly see leaves and brownish water coming down, and you may not pay attention to that. 5 miles, 6 miles upriver, you may have some form of rainfall activity, and that water is going to gradually come down. All right? Pay special attention to, before entering in the river, diving, jumping, make sure there's no object, rocks, bamboos, or any form of debris. All right? Make sure that that water is very clear and free of any form of danger, because people do jump in water. We have had a lot of complaints where people lost lives and got injured by jumping into unknown waters.
And I think one of the things that we see a lot as well are people who go on hikes, right? And so they go on hikes, of course, the reward for that long hike is the river. And so we're also cautioning them as well. For rivers, because I know normally if you can't swim in the beaches, you will have the life jackets. Do you also suggest people use life jackets in the river as well?
Yeah, that's a very good point. For anybody who's a non-swimmer, it's advisable that you have, for personal, you have a life jacket. Proper life jacket that is done properly and buckled down.
Even for children as well.
Yeah. But the children must be supervised, because although you're in a flotation device, if your face go down and you get that mouthful of water, you can drown.
That's it.
So children and floaties, they must be supervised by adult supervision or parent. For the adults, make sure your jacket is also done properly. For the hikers, when you go on hikes, what we advise, you have your jacket, also got a coil of rope, 20 feet, 15 feet of rope with a flotation tied very securely. So if someone gets into difficulty, you don't have to go into the water, because although you have on a life jacket, it only gives you that level of buoyancy for your weight. A drowning person hold on to you, you will go down. Or if they hold on to around your neck, you're going to have some problems.
Let's switch gears to pools. How can we keep them safe around pools?
Well, pools, that's a big environment. First and foremost, we have to observe all the rules when you go to the pool. No running, no horse playing. When you go to the pool, make sure when you have your kids, or they're in floaties, they are actually, for the parents, arms reach away. Always make sure that you identify where the deep side or the shallow side of the pool is situated.
No, I like that you mentioned that, Mr. Livingston, because I think the understanding is if it's a kiddie pool, then my kid can, or my child can swim freely.
Yes.
But is that the understanding? Or?
Yes, some people is of that notion.
Yes.
But do you know that a simple mouthful of water can make you lose your life. And if you're not observing your child and they slip, or if they bump their head and they probably just go mouth face down, that mouthful of water gets into their nostril or their mouth, you're going to have a casualty. So it's very, very important that parents need to understand, although your child or children are suited in any type of flotation, it is your duty always to be an arm's reach away and keep your eyes on them at all times. Because it just takes a couple seconds for you to get that water into your system. Yeah. It's going to create some form of breathing problem, and you can.
Now, are these rules also applicable to those above ground pools? Because they don't seem as dangerous. They seem as if they may not be as deep as the ones on the ground.
Yes, it applies for all pools. And what we advise for people that have those pools, make sure that those pools are secure. Like for the ground pools, we have the ladders.
Right.
We remove the ladders when we finish using them for the blower pools. Simple thing like you leave the blower pools there. Kids could go into it, they could fall in it again, and they could drown very easily, like what we had recently with the preschooler, right? We take it for granted that that pool is only knee height or ankle height of depth, and someone cannot drown, but it's very, very dangerous. So at home, we advise that those people that have these little blower pools, when you finish use it, you empty it, deflate it, and put it in storage. For the bigger pools, the ground pools that the adults and the teenagers use, when you finish use these pools, remove the ladder, and if it's possible, you have a tarpaulin type cover.
Yes.
Cover it and secure it, right? Also, do not leave any type of toys or any stuff that is going to attract the eyes of kids in water, be it at home, anywhere, because these kids, they're going to go after it, and you can have a casualty.
Yeah. I also wanted you to speak as well, Mr. Livingston, to quarries. I have seen pictures of children swimming in the quarries.
Yes. Well, we have that mainly in the Valencia area where they're not actually close to the rivers. And that is very dangerous because you can go in a quarry pond and jump in, and because of the bottom composition, remember that is where they dug out a hole.
Yes.
So you can jump in and you can be stuck in that area. Beside that, you have where the depth of the water, and when you dive in or jump in to get out, you remember that is a mud surface, so it's going to be very slippery. That is very dangerous. So I would urge people to defer from getting into these kind of areas to have fun and swim and all of that.
Yeah.
And be kind of not pay attention because it's only hype.
It's Easter time and they want them to have fun, but I'm glad that you spoke about that because I've seen the pictures and it does look very dangerous. But Mr. Livingston, let me thank you so much for coming in. It's always a pleasure to have you here, especially around Easter time when we know that children are going to be out and about, especially around different bodies of water. So thank you so much for your tips.
It's a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Have a good one. And that, of course, was Water Safety Education Officer at the Ministry of National Security Lifeguard Services, Mr. Alistair Livingston, giving us some water safety tips as we look forward to the Easter holidays. Here on the Now Morning Show, we're going to take a break and be right back. Stay with us.